22 to order. Ask Captain Williams if you could please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Honorable Mayor Pro Tem and members of the City Council, if you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Captain. Amy, can you call roll, please?
Certainly. Councilmember Bogue?
Here.
Councilmember Duncan?
Here.
Councilmember Thorpe?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Beaver?
Here.
Mayor Avila?
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. City Manager, are there any changes to the agenda that you'd like to make?
Yes, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, the staff respectfully requests that we remove item number 7 from the agenda this evening, given that that's the mayor's appointment.
Understood. Is there a motion to approve that request?
So move.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, special presentation, Mr. Preciado. I think this is going to be you.
Yes, good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and council members. Thank you for this opportunity to introduce two of our Trails and Open Space Committee members. They will be providing a short presentation on an award from the California Trails and Greenways Conference for the Take a Hike Yucaipa program. And at this time, I'd like to introduce the chair and co-chair of the committee, Christine Moeller and Kathy Barton.
Good evening, council members. My name is Kathy Barton. I'm privileged and proud to serve on your Trails and Open Space Committee for the City of Yucaipa. And tonight it gives me really great pleasure to formally present to the city an award that was received last month from the California Trails and Greenways Conference. This is a program merit award for the monthly Take a Hike program that the Trails and Open Space Committee organizes. And it's an award that recognizes agencies, organizations, and individuals for programs that promote and enhance the enjoyment of California's trails and open spaces. The award that was received on behalf of the City of Yucaipa by Christine Moeller, the chair of our committee, acknowledges achievement in the previous year, meaning 2021. But really, the Take a Hike program was conceived first in 2017. On every second Saturday of the month, anywhere from 40 to 100 hikers gather to enjoy a rotation of the greatest hits, if you will, of Yucaipa's multi-use trails. And they really are spectacular, thanks to the vision of the City Council, you as the current members and past members of the City Council. Yucaipa's beautiful open spaces are reason enough for the hikers to show up and participate every month, but we have an added incentive, awards for sustained participation for hikers who show up. We have a ball cap once you achieve 6 hikes. If you achieve 6 more hikes, you have a lapel pin, and we now have people already working on their 3rd lapel pin. So mind you, that is more than 18 hikes they've already completed, and they're working on completing 24. We even have a canine division, so the dogs that complete 6 hikes get a special customized bandana that they can wear around their neck with the City of Yucaipa logo. This has really developed into an active community of hikers in Yucaipa. Our Facebook page has 1,700 followers now. And for the day or two after each hike, we have participants who post the photos that they've taken of their hikes. Leading up to the next hike, people are clamoring for information on our Facebook page about the details of the next hike. We've really developed a genuine and active hiking community born right here in Yucaipa, and that's what this award recognizes. I think there are really three reasons for this well-deserved award to the city of Yucaipa. First is the City Council's long-term support for our network of multi-use trails and preservation of open space. Second is the volunteers on the city's Trails and Open Space Committee who coordinate all of the logistics associated with each hike. And there are quite a few, actually. It's hike leaders, it's having water and snacks for the hikers, it's providing a little bit of background about the hike and history, if that's appropriate for the hike. It's keeping track of all these award winners and their participation in the hike, so it's really taking roll call at each hike. And it's maintaining our Facebook page that has become very active. The third reason, I think, and perhaps the most important, is the participation of the hikers themselves. These are residents, mostly of Yucaipa, but also participants from nearby cities. And they have endorsed the Take a Hike program literally with their feet, and we're so gratified by that participation. Truly, it's the participants who have made this program a success. So it gives me really great pleasure to be here tonight and formally present this award to the City Council of the City of Yucaipa. And I had hoped our co-chair, Christine Moeller, would be here, but she must be delayed. I know she would echo these thoughts, and she would also give great acknowledgement to the city staff who really indulge all of our crazy ideas about improving the trails and open space in Yucaipa and helping the committee achieve its goals for enhancing the great open space and hiking infrastructure that we have in Yucaipa. So thank you very much for these few minutes to present this award to the city of Yucaipa. And I do see that our chair of the committee, Christine, has arrived, so I'd love to introduce Christine Moeller to you for a few remarks. Christine actually has the award, so now we really can present the hardware.
She was hiking. She got a little delayed on the trail.
Hi, City Council. Thank you so much for hearing me out. I come up here with, stay right here, with a lot of pride in our city and our volunteers and our community. So I think we have some committee members up here. Do we? We have committee members and hikers. There you go. Anyways, what I would like to say is that I was at the awards, award ceremony for the Trails and Greenway Conference. And can't tell you how amazing it was to walk around with this award winner on my badge. I was one of 6 people. We were one of 6 people in the state of California that won an award. The other communities that won awards were huge communities: San Diego, San Francisco County, all these huge communities with huge budgets on their Trails and Open Space Committee. Our award was a merit award for our Take a Hike. And our Take a Hike started several years ago with our dog park dedication. And throughout the years, we've met and hiked with so many wonderful people. I'd say thousands of Yucaipans that have come out to our Trails and to our trail meeting. To our hikes. One thing I'd really like to put out there is that we have committee members that are just incredibly awesome. We have the Yucaipa Valley Conservancy members. We have the Equestrian Committee representative on our committee. But we got some folks that are just awesome. Kathy Barton here put us on the map. So without her skills, grant writing and things, and we are grant writing for the mountain bike course in Wildwood. So without those type of volunteers, Candy Kanzler, Dee Dee Chudy, Kathy, Mike Bagg, we have Patrick from the high school team. Without those type of individuals in our community, this would never happen because they're the ones that make this happen. It has to, I also have to make note that Fermin Preciado is our liaison for the city. And my gosh, I mean, you guys know him, Fermin, he's just the best, the very, very best. Ray Casey, I think everybody knows how I feel about Ray Casey. And if you don't know how I feel about Megan Wolf, she's awesome. Yeah, and you know what, while we're talking about this, I want to tell you how wonderful it is to have hundreds of hikers right behind us on our trails. The Trails and Open Space is one of the strongest committees, I think, in our repertoire of volunteer committees, and I appreciate city staff. Ray Casey, thank you so much. Fermin and everybody getting behind us, including you. Our mountain bike course was probably one of the biggest joys of what we have accomplished in the recent years. And while we're up here and making this beautiful presentation, I'd like you to get behind us a little bit and finish that third phase of the mountain bike course. We're 2 phases in. It's such a beautiful course. I'd really like to solicit a call to action to get up there on the objectives, goals and objectives list so we can finish off that course. We do have a few more ideas in mind, but nothing major. So I think if we finish this course, that would just be awesome. The course is something that is not, it's unique. The single track mountain bike course is unique, and the Trails and Greenway Conference, where we won this award, is going to be in Palm Springs next year. So I'd really like, with the help of city staff, to get a pre-conference meeting or a pre-conference tour through Yucaipa. I think that would just be wonderful. But the bottom line is I'm so proud of the committee. I've been on it for almost 20 years, and this is major to be able to have an event once a month that our citizens look forward to. And it's not only our citizens, it's people from out of the area as well, hiking and doing something very vigorous. So
And
I
it's not just the citizens that are proud of this as well. I'm telling you, the committee posted it on their Facebook. I got people talking to me about it. I called you the day I saw it because I was so proud of the work you guys are doing. So I know that Yucaipa is a gem because of our open spaces and our trails that show off and highlight those open spaces. So keep up the great work. Mr. Ward, are you here for this part of it as well? You want to do your part as well? You can come in for come on in.
And before he jumps in there, I'd like to also, if you don't know about our Take a Hike Challenge, we have a Yucaipa Take a Hike Challenge. And the Take a Hike Challenge we developed because what we wanted to do is encourage the community to get healthier, to get on their trails. And when we introduce them on the to the hikes, they're more apt to go out there and use the trails. And what we developed was for the first 6 hikes that they go on, they get a hat like this. Is anybody wearing their hats? Right on, put them up there in the air. And then after the next 6 hikes, they get a pin. And we've developed 3 different pins for each year that they do it. We also have a Take a Hike Challenge for the little doggies. And this is their Take a Hike Challenge with Yucaipa logo on it. But what's interesting is that it's so popular that our Trails and Open Space budget doesn't cover it. So we've had to sponsor some of the pins and some of the work on this. By the time we order the hats, our budget's gone. So we'd like to ask you to increase our budget so we can cover the Take a Hike Challenge paraphernalia we give.
Hard to say no when you're award winners, huh? Come to us with hardware.
Especially since we want to do a children's arm to it.
You bring
know
us
what I mean?
hardware,
A
it makes it
children's
easier
arm.
for us.
Come on, and it doesn't cost very much. So I just want to thank city staff. I want to thank Fermin Preciado. Fermin's in our meetings every time. I know he gets here at 7. He probably doesn't leave here till 8:30 when we have our Tuesday meetings. And he's very involved, which gives us the impetus to do what we do. So I want to thank you guys as well, because it wouldn't happen without our city council.
Thank you.
This goes in City Hall, and I'd like us all to take a picture. And this is the second award from the Trails and Greenway Conference that we've won, so I'm so excited about it.
Yeah, I would love, I think we all want a picture, but I want to see what Mr. Ward's going to give you as well, and then we can all get a picture with everybody.
Aha, it's even better than I thought.
Wow. Well, thank you for giving us the opportunity to honor this amazing group of volunteers. My name is Scott Ward. I'm here on behalf of San Bernardino County 3rd District Supervisor Dawn Rao, who absolutely loves this kind of project, a group of volunteers who are driven by passion to make something really special happen in the community. And I think this is a great example of, you talked about those other cities that won. Sometimes passion is better than a bigger budget, you know? Because you really do believe what you're promoting, getting people involved, getting them out in the community, just discovering and exploring the trail system, learning about the history of the area. That's why we're here tonight, to congratulate the Yucaipa Trails and Open Space Committee, and this is not a full whereas and therefore proclamation, so it won't take long. On behalf of San Bernardino County 3rd District Supervisor Dawn Rao, congratulations to the Yucaipa Trails and Open Space Committee for receiving the 2022 California Trails and Greenways Merit Award. The Take a Hike program is worthy of this award for encouraging Yucaipa residents to stay active and learn about the rich history of the community. Congratulations.
And we'd love to take a picture with the hikers and committee members. If you guys could come down and join us, we can.
Hey, I think Scott gave us a new slogan. Did you hear that?
What's that? What was it?
You guys hear that? I think that should be the Yucaipa slogan. Passion's better than a bigger budget.
Hey, after this presentation, okay?
I wasn't suggesting cutting their budget.
Yeah. Right on. Hey, I also want to make sure everybody knows when I accepted this award at the Trails and Greenway Conference, I did it with extreme pride for Yucaipa, the city of Yucaipa. It was not me, it was the entire committee, so I just want to make that clear for me. Yes, Mike, and yeah. You guys want to come up? Come on, Ames. Don't hide, Bobby.
Okay, one more. All righty, 1, 2, 3. Perfect, thank you.
I love it. I love that you're here. Thank you so much. Hey, while you're getting situated up there, I had the best time at the Music and Arts Festival. I mean, what a great thing for the city of Yucaipa. I couldn't even believe looking out there like that and seeing this whole Yucaipa out there. It was the best one ever.
Absolutely.
Right on, Megan. That was awesome.
Thank you. All right, now we'll move on to public comment. I have one public comment slip. Miss Candy Kanzler. And speakers are reminded that they have 3 minutes. If you could just come down, please, and tell us your name and address.
Candy Kanzler, 37687 Oak Glen Road in Oak Glen. I'm putting on my other hat now for the Historical Society. We kind of had a little discussion between all of us, and we loved the Music and Arts Festival. It was great. We always enjoy participating, but we kind of would like to put out a little bit of a plea since we are a nonprofit. Would you guys consider down the road maybe giving us a little bit of a break on the booth rentals? We sort of sucked up our breath this time, but we did it. We can't take a smaller booth because we have so much to put out and display. But anyway, just put it on your back burner and think about it. Maybe if you could give us a small break, we would really appreciate it. So,
Thank you, ma'am.
thank you.
Okay, if there are no more speaker slips, we will move on to consent agenda. Is there a council member that wished to remove any item from the consent agenda? No. Have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Also move.
I'll second.
We have a first and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. All right. Mayor and council member business reports. Anybody have anything to report?
I just want to, Christine just threw it out there about the Music and Arts Festival. I just want to, everyone here knows how successful it was. I mean, it was incredible. You guys did an incredible job. But I want to thank, there's a few people I want to thank. First, I want to thank city staff. I saw a number of you there working the whole weekend. Thank you for all the hours you put in. Landon, you're a great MC. Also want to thank the Chamber of Commerce. There's a number of volunteers with the Chamber of Commerce that helped put this event on that it could not happen without the Chamber volunteers. There's also service organizations that help with this. A lot of people behind the scenes that just don't get the recognition. Church organizations, I believe there's a few of them involved in cleanup and things of that nature. There are so many people that it requires so much input to make this thing happen. And you know what makes a good city? The good city is the one who can organize all of them to work together and make it happen, and you guys did it. So thank you for all your work. Awesome job. Huge turnout.
You keep on pushing that bar higher and higher, Megan. The work you guys do is phenomenal. I heard nothing but positive feedback, so great job on that. People are coming here from further and further away to partake in our festivals and our events because of the marketing you guys are doing and just the word, I think, honestly, the word of mouth, it spreads that Yucaipa puts on great festivals. So I agree with everything Councilman Bogue said. Okay, moving on to possible action on pending legislation. Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. The item before you relative to potential legislation is the letter from the Office of the District Attorney involving defunding California's Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force. Elimination of funding will severely hinder law enforcement's ability to protect these most in need of protection, the children. So this is a proposal that was included in the budget process, and this district attorney office is certainly against it and submitted this letter in support of or against the elimination of the funds for putting children at risk, not only from the offenders, but having to deal with the lifelong trauma of being a sexual assault victim. It goes on to say our office represents over 2 million citizens. Staff's recommendation is for council to send a support letter This came to our attention after the agenda was posted, so we would seek direction to bring it back to you at the next council meeting for a letter from the city council to support the Office of the District Attorney's letter against this defunding the budget for this program. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Is there any questions?
What's the budget? Well, how much is this budget?
I don't know what the amount is.
Um,
I can find that out and bring it back as a part of.
Is that something that the county could take over? Or if they do in fact defund it, could the county afford to do that, you think? Or is it just too big?
I don't think so. I think it's a statewide issue, but I'll be happy to bring back that information for the next council agenda.
So I worked as an ICAC detective for 3 years. And the position I have, and I've told this to people, is if somebody asks me what a pedophile looks like, there's no, I mean, it's somebody who hurts kids could be your neighbor and you'll never know. This is a program that specifically is monitoring internet crimes of child sexual exploitation. This is the biggest tool that law enforcement has to seek out these violent predators that are in our community. So I support this 100% for what it's worth. Do you need a motion and a vote to have it brought back?
Just a motion or concurrence to bring it back next meeting.
Is this going through appropriations where they're trying to pull this out? How do we know that this is, I support it for sure. I support the letter.
I think it is going through the appropriations process.
And that's where they're
budget
talking about
process.
eliminating it?
I think so.
That's
yes. Again, I'll bring back more information with the.
okay, yeah, I support it.
I think we have. You agree?
I agree, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, as well. Unanimously.
All right, I have concurrence in the council. Thank you. I'll bring it back at the next meeting.
Thank you. Okay, department reports. This is item number 8. The Fire Department 2021 Annual Report and Emergency Transport Update. This is going to be our Fire Chief Malinowski.
Evening, Mayor Pro Tem, Council. Good looking engine right there. So I'd like to read the chief's message just for the benefit of the folks who are remote. So the Yucaipa Fire and Paramedic Department strives to provide the highest level of life safety services to the residents and visitors of the city of Yucaipa. I'm honored to serve as the city's fire chief, and I couldn't be more proud of the men and women of the Yucaipa Fire and Paramedic Department who mitigate all emergency types over 22 times a day while providing excellent customer service to the public we protect. I constantly look to improve the level of service we provide to meet the future needs of the city and to be a valued part of the community we serve. 2021 has shown a significant increase in call volume and response times, coupled with statewide challenges for emergency medical services response. I'm constantly working with the city staff and city council to reduce response times and increase service. So just a quick recap for us, our organizational chart. We work for you, obviously. I work for Ray. And then we have our medical oversight there with Dr. Dukes and our volunteer QA/QI nurse. And then we have our 3 stations, which are covered by 7 shifts because of our 72-hour work week. So and that's our breakdown of our staff right there, which you guys all know. We have transitioned this next coming year to a full-time battalion chief, 7 captains, 7 engineers, 7 firefighter paramedics, and 2 dispatchers that we fund. To put it in perspective, you know, the fire department's not just the 22 calls we run a day, but it's what we could be called to do. And we protect 43 square miles. That includes Yucaipa and Oak Glen. About 57,000 residents. And as we saw with music and arts, more and more and more visitors coming to Oak Glen and Yucaipa. And the property we protect is over $5 billion in property and infrastructure. Pretty impressive when you look at it like that. And currently we're in ISO level 3 or 3X, which is good, and we're working towards improving that. So some of the responses we've had here this last year, we increased, oops, I'll go back on this little guy right here. So our response times went up to 7 minutes and 9 seconds for a total of 8,263 calls. So that correlated with a 627 call increase from the previous year, which is about 7.6%. So we just keep getting busier every year, every year, every year. In the last 40 years, the only time we've taken a dip was 2020 with COVID and people not wanting to call 911. So our response times increased 38 seconds overall, which is a huge bump. And there's several factors in that. So one of them was being the shortage of paramedics. So we'll talk about AMR delays, but we're waiting on scene with our patients because we don't have an ambulance to put them into. So our paramedics are tied up on that call and they can't leave. It's called patient abandonment. So it's against the law. Another issue we're getting into, part of the fix, is we're getting BLS ambulances. So we're getting an ambulance with an EMT. Our paramedics are riding in. They're providing that paramedic service, which we do on critical care calls anyways, but now we're down in another paramedic unit. So there's less in the mix for the city. And you can see kind of the growth chart there. The last time, and I didn't put in here, the last time our response times were at that 5-minute mark, kind of what certainly my goal, the goal of our strategic draft we've done, and for any suburban area should be at about 5 minutes, and kind of what we pushed Measure E with. The last time we were there was 2007 when we opened Station 3. So 15 years ago was our last increase in frontline level of service, and I don't have the exact call up there, but somewhere between about 5,800 calls, and now we're over 8,200 calls. We've increased quite a lot, over 2,000 calls a year of service since we've added that station. So AMR delays. So that was another huge issue, and it wasn't just us. In the county, it was kind of the corners of the county just due to geography, and then it was a statewide issue, and it's a nationwide issue, and really coming back to shortage of paramedics and people who want to be in. You guys all know this. People who don't want to work in public service. So, there's not paramedic schools where there's 40 folks going through at a time now. It's 10, 12. When I went 20 years ago, it was 100 people applying for 30 spots, and now they take everybody they can get. So the city manager and I have been working diligently on what we can, at least in our little local theater, and we've been pretty successful in that because we started getting quantifiable data from AMR, and the response times is not specific to our city. It's a bigger geographic area, but we were seeing delays, especially when it was really bad in July here. We were seeing like delays where they were late more than they were on time, and they're supposed to be on time 90% of the time. So that's pretty poor. And we were seeing that in calls. We were getting delays of 30, 45, 50 minutes for an ambulance to the point where we're transporting people in fire engines because it was the right thing to do to get them to the hospital. So, and then they have improved. So they're still fluctuate constantly. And APOD, if you guys aren't familiar with that, I know our public safety ad hoc folks are. The ambulance patient offload delay is another really national issue. We get the people in an ambulance, we get them to the hospital, and now the ambulance is stuck there. They're sitting on a gurney for hour, 2 hours, 6 hours because the hospital's not putting them in a bed. So there's multiple issues, but it's affecting our local 911 service, everybody's 911 service. The county is currently working on an RFP to redo the entire ambulance service in the county. So that is coming. They're really building this from the ground up. How can we do a better job and really look at this 50 years of antiquated model we do and how can we do it better? What's the most efficient, least fiscally constraintive way to do EMS and get people to the hospital? That's what it is. I mean, our job is to get people to definitive care, which unfortunately is not our paramedics, it is the hospital. So our Station 1 staffing there, just to recap for the other folks, we have 2 shifts there, and we have our paramedic engine 1 out of Station 1, our rescue UTV, which has seen a lot of increased service since COVID. We're getting a lot more remote area rescues with just more people out on the trails, hiking, as we saw, biking. It's getting a lot more frequent. So we're getting our money out of that thing. And then we staff 2 state fire engines there when they're staffed for fire season, which is now. They saw about a 6% increase in calls, so they're running about 2,659 calls there. our Station 2 engine, which has our paramedic engine 2, also brush engine 2, which is cross-staff daily for our needs, obviously, and then mutual aid calls. They saw a pretty large increase, almost 15% increase to about 1,937 calls. And then our Station 3, which houses our reserve engines, myself, and then our little utility. They saw about a 5% increase, but as you'll notice there, they are by far our busiest station. So that's where 60% of our calls in the city are coming out of the 5th and Wildwood station. And that's another part of the delays is they're on calls and they're getting another call in that area. So they're servicing from farther areas of the city. And then for myself, we're the busiest. I'm the busiest battalion chief, or Yucaipa, if I'm not here and somebody else runs the call. We are the busiest as far as battalion chief service, equating to about a 1.5 significant incident calls per day. So it doesn't mean there's always a significant incident, but it's dispatched as such until we get there. We do have a reserve program that's run through the college, and that's getting real OJT folks on the job training for those folks to become firefighters. So another problem with public safety, which is this is huge for us, is and I'm sure law enforcement, everybody, we're recruiting down to the kindergarten level at this point. That is not a joke. That a dead serious recruitment and retention for public safety is at the base level of elementary school at this point. So these folks are getting the OJT, and they will be permanent professional firefighters, firefighter paramedics here shortly. We do service the Oak Glen through contract with County Fire. Small increase in service there from our previous year, only 1.8%. We're running just over 100 calls there. It continues to increase just like our city, but you will see a new contract proposal here pretty soon to renegotiate our Oak Glen contract that'll come to council. So it actually covers our contract costs there. And we do have through the contract, we have a Type 6 engine, a brush patrol. It's a 4-wheel drive brush patrol that we have at Station 1 to cross staff. And we're getting a water tender back out of the deal. So the intent will be to actually cross staff from Station 1 to actually use that equipment instead of having it sit up in Oak Glen and not super accessible because we just can't get, it's not like fire departments were 20 years ago when you had these old volunteer reserves. That's just not the reality where we have qualified folks who can drive. As soon as you're qualified, we're throwing you the keys and you're working full time. So it's just a different formula now. Automatic aid, we maintain automatic aid, and we obviously use that automatic aid too, as we saw on the El Dorado Apple and the mudslides. So we have a even though this one's kind of an assumed one, we do mutual aid. We use those state engines at Yucaipa. We don't own those; they're not the cities, but we use those about 500-600 calls a year. We get mutual aid from the state here in the city. It's probably more than that. I probably should have pulled the exact number for you. Cal Fire Riverside County, we do mutual aid a lot. They're our first in a lot to the Oak Glen and Oak Glen and Wildwood corridor there. And then Highland, Cal Mesa, Redlands, San Mateo County Fire, and the Forest Service. So other than running calls, so we get 22 calls a day, the folks are expected to be, I'm sure you've heard the thing with firemen, they're expected to be, a master of all, essentially. Like no matter what the call type is, we're expected, it's a hazmat, that's fine. It's a confined space rescue, that's fine. It's whatever, we're expected to be, kind of that master of all. And so it requires constant training on everything. Just there's so much that we have to go through, paramedicine. So training is another big part. It's not just running the calls. They have to be prepped and prepared to run calls, and they get qualified every year too. So this is our folks actually out doing testing. So they actually get testing certification every year that I administer. And then fire prevention is another big part of what we do. So outreach, such as like YMAP, is not just us staffing a booth. It's also public contact for fire, recruiting, fire prevention, fire safety, those messages. And we do a lot of school outreach, business inspections. Some of this was held up with our per direction from council with COVID, just because we weren't doing public contact. We're keeping the paramedics away from unnecessary stuff. But we've since started up our business inspections, so that's another service we offer. A small business owner gets a fire in their business, they're not likely to reopen, and if they do reopen, they're very likely to fail in that first year. So if we can prevent a fire in those small businesses, that's beneficial for them, beneficial for the city. Hazard fuel reduction, that's something I'll say we haven't done a good job at it. We haven't done a bad job at it, we just haven't had that focus where we really need to put more effort into it. And right now we have several, and I know we've discussed some of them. We're on the cusp of multiple grants most likely coming through for hazard fuel reduction. And we already have tentative approval for community chipping. And since we've last kind of given that update, some newer funding that the state wants to expedite, and I'll tell them to spend it tomorrow, where we might be able to buy durable equipment such as the chipper instead of renting it, and some real beneficial stuff that's going to come to us. The Oakland and Wildwood corridors, doing hazard fuel reduction projects in there, whether that's grazing, burning, manual application, mechanical application, getting rid of the hazard fuels and just making our communities more wildfire hardened and safer. And then same thing for the El Dorado side, hazard fuel reduction, hazard tree removal, reforestation, type conversion mitigation, which is a fancy term for keeping the invasive species out there and letting our native species thrive. So we do a lot of these projects out there. And then Toys for Yucaipa, the guys gear up for it, and it's a big undertaking, and it gets bigger every year, but they enjoy doing it. As you can see, that's a pretty big commitment. At one of our fire stations, we got to move equipment out and hide it for a month, and we get more and more families. So last year we did over 3,000 toys to over 181 families to over 700 children on the Toys for Yucaipa. So, and that's really, and really, it's not that everybody doesn't help, it's really these guys at Station 2, and then Lenore Will, and Brenda, yeah, really handle that whole thing. So it's a phenomenal job they do. LPS was also put on hiatus, and then I've been talking to Callie right now. We're going to start LPS back up. So I know you guys are familiar with this, but for the public's knowledge, we house the students from Yucaipa High School in this program at the fire station on Fridays. So they actually come over to the fire station and they do part of their school. The other part is with law enforcement. And every year they do a capstone where they do some big training exercise. And these folks are going into, Crafton Hills College, other colleges, and getting either law enforcement or fire jobs. So it's a great program. We fully support it. And we do a ton of ride-out hours with it. And you could see they get super excited because I think they can only ride out on like spring break, Thanksgiving break, Christmas break. And as soon as they can sign up for ride-outs, we're stacked. Like you're seeing these little, like who's that little kid on the engine? And it's because they're the LPS students. So they're super excited to come out. CERT, sound the alarm. We definitely support CERT. We help teach a lot of the classes in CERT and get the folks, that's, Sherry's project. She's ran for a long time, but we definitely help support CPR, disaster medicine, blah, 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 fire extinguishers, and get those folks where they need to be so we can actually use them for what the intent is. And then the sound alarm, which also kind of took a hit with COVID like everything else. That's back up and rolling. And for those who don't know, the sound the alarm will come in through American Red Cross and possibly on our own in the future, but get folks who don't have smoke detectors. A lot of times it's aimed at the elderly, and just having just one increases your chance multiple times of surviving a fire. Most fatal fires happen at night. A lot of senior citizens, they don't know they have them. They don't have batteries in them. They haven't tested them for years, and we come in and help them out with that. And then the college. So the college, we're definitely big supporters of the college. I sit on the fire technology, EMT, and paramedic advisory committees for the college. Really, these paramedic students is what we need to take, and Yucaipa has always been a very staunch supporter of the college. And even with COVID, when other departments were like, it's absolutely crucial these kids keep going through school and we get paramedics out on the field, and we did. And it's a big undertaking. So we were taking this was higher before COVID, and it's ramping back up. We were taking about 25% of all EMT students because they had the option to sign up with us or AMR. And obviously they were opt-in anytime they could ride out with us. And then we took 4 paramedic students last year, and that's 600 hours a student. So it's a huge undertaking for one of our employees to volunteer that on top of their daily job. That's 25, 24-hour shifts if the student doesn't get extended. So, and they take them every single time we're asked. Significant incidents. So probably not as lively as 2020. That was a pretty good year I'd like to not repeat. I'm sure you guys are the same. Still dealing with COVID. So 2020 was obviously the big one, but 2021 we still saw a lot of effects of COVID. A lot of remote area rescues like we talked about. And then my favorite, once the fires were over and I could stop watching the weather in the winter, except for I couldn't because we start getting the El Dorado mudslides. So that was the bane of my existence, and it's still a threat to us right now, but it's gotten a lot better. So we're at much less of a risk of a significant mudslide, but the potential is still there. So, and we did get some events, and we appropriately did some evacuation warnings and orders, and we got a little mudslide out of it, but we're grateful that it wasn't worse than it was, but the threat's still there, and it took a lot of work to get where we needed to be on that, and I think everybody did a great job on that. So some future or some grant updates and goals and some futures for you. So we were successful on a Homeland Security grant to get some rescue tools, which have been used right when they got put in service. We did place, which got put on a very long hold because of COVID. Once we kind of we were kind of dragging on it, and then once the ball started rolling, the COVID really delayed getting engine 3 in service. So they typically were taking about 9 to 12 months, and that one took about 24 months to get that engine actually in service. But it was placed in service this last year. That's huge. It replaced a engine that was running a lot of calls and was getting real tired. So we constantly apply for FEMA, Department of Homeland Security grants, AFG grants, SAFER grants, which is staffing. So we keep putting in every year for a squad and see if the federal government will give us funding for that, which they have not opted to do yet. Fire prevention grants, which we have gotten some money for fire prevention materials and outreach and such. And then we continue to improve our hospital and ROSC, which is a return of spontaneous circulation. Our out of hospital recovery, so actually getting someone back is much better than, and I should have brought you stats, but is much better than the county average. So a big part of that is how we approach it, the use of our auto pulses and training and paramedics and having them there. So obviously we can get better. And then the tentative funding we talked about with the chipping program, that's hopefully I want that now. So hopefully that's just any minute where we get the go ahead on that. And then we talked about those other IERCD grants. So, and then kind of futures, we talked about the needs of the fire department. So moving to that 2022 and beyond is we've talked about the ladder truck, which is definitely a necessity moving forward as we grow. We want to grow up. We want to grow wide. We want to add more stuff. We need that to protect critical infrastructure. And then also, we've talked about the squad and 7-minute, 9-second response time, and just repeating what everybody knows. Just something we need to keep working on to get that level of service improved. So that's all I have for you.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions for the Chief?
So your response times have gone up because AMR's response times have gone down significantly? Is that kind of what I'm understanding here?
Multiple factors to that. One is just we're busier. So you keep adding hundreds of calls a year. It's gonna increase response times just for double up calls and not have enough units. And then a big factor is AMR delays and or getting BLS ambulances. So if a BLS ambulance showed up at a call here right now, our paramedics can ride into either Redlands Community or Loma Linda, depending on what kind of call it is, and that's going to put that paramedic out of service for 45 minutes, an hour that we're down. So yeah, the AMR's response times have gotten better. And we were getting upwards to an hour sometimes sitting on scene. So one of the fixes was the BLS ambulance, but it creates its own issues too.
Okay.
So they have improved, but we're getting busier too.
If I may, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, just for the record, Public Safety Committee heard this report earlier today as well and supported it, so.
Thank you. Is this a review and approve?
This does ask for approval, yes.
Okay. Ask for approval? What is it?
I'll move approval.
Oh, sorry.
I'll second.
All right, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Agenda item number 9, law enforcement services, presented by our city manager, Mr. Casey.
Mayor Pro Tem, I'm gonna have to recuse myself on this item
Okay.
due to my employment.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. This item is the annual law enforcement services contract. This contract calls for an additional deputy, and it is consistent with the strategic plan that City Council adopted last year. The total contract amount is in the not-to-exceed amount of $12,329,951, but there's also an annual personnel credit in the amount of $599,695, and that is for the county jurisdictional services provided under the leadership of our police station for the surrounding county areas. So that net amount is $11,730,256 for the coming year, and that is an increase from previous year of about $542,754. Those services are provided consistent with the contracts from years past. The services are the same, other than the one additional deputy. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions?
I don't have any, no.
I will also mention that the Public Safety Committee heard this as well from the Sheriff's Department, with representatives from the Board of Chiefs, the Office of the Sheriff, and our own command staff from the Yucaipa station today. Their services were presented to the Public Safety Committee, who agreed with their presentation as well. So with that being said, is there a motion to approve?
So move.
I'll second.
First and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Awesome.
And Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I believe our city attorney is on the call, if you would wish to have him make the announcements.
Perfect. Are there any announcements from the council?
No.
I do want to announce something I heard, was told today. One of our retired citizens on patrol members who served the city of Yucaipa for a month shy of 10 years, from 2006 through 2016, passed away yesterday, suddenly and unexpectedly, after he, like I said, retired from service from the Sheriff's Department and moved out of state. If I can, I'd just like to have a moment of silence for Jim Krenicki. Thank you. All right, for closed session, Mr. City Attorney, do we have closed session items?
We do. Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, members of the City Council. We've got a number of items on this evening's closed session. First is a conference with legal counsel regarding anticipated litigation and exposure to litigation, one case. We have existing litigation, one item, San Bernardino County Superior Court case number 2009-818, City of Yucaipa versus Neville, Catherine, and Jeffrey Brock. The next item relates to real property negotiations. The assessor's parcel numbers are listed on the agenda. City's negotiator is Mr. Casey. Negotiating parties will be the city of Yucaipa, and under negotiation, disposition of properties. And the last item is also a real property negotiation item regarding 32798 Oak Glen Road. Again, the city's negotiator is Mr. Casey, and the negotiating parties, City of Yucaipa, in consideration of price and terms for disposition of property by the city. We do not expect any reportable action on those items this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Snow. All right, that brings us to adjournment, and I would like to adjourn this meeting in the memory of Citizens Patrolman Jim Kernicki.